What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, newly crowned 3-belt unified welterweight world champion superstar boxer, who is widely considered by many to be top 3 best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, that being none other than Errol "The Truth" Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. this past Saturday defeated former WBA welterweight world champion Cuban star boxer YORDENIS UGAS via 10th round stoppage. With that said, Errol Spence now holds the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, and the Ring Magazine linealship to the welterweight division. Errol Spence is now 28 wins, no losses, no draws, 22 big wins by way of knockout. He is 32 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. Impressive performance from Errol Spence Jr. after being out the ring for over a year. Errol Spence Jr. was last in the ring, actually going on 2 years. He was last seen in the ring December 5th of 2020 when he defeated 2-division world champion Puerto Rican superstar boxer Danny Swift Garcia. With that said, Errol Spence Jr. is, in hot pursuit of the biggest fight in the sport of boxing, the fight we all wanted to see. That chip on his shoulder is growing bigger by the day, as everybody has been eager and clamoring to see Errol Spence face off against his biggest rival, an undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the reigning WBO welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terence "Bud" Crawford. Terence Crawford is 38 wins, no losses, no draws, 29 big wins by way of knockout. He is 34 years of age, 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. With that said, there was a lot of chatter, a lot of talk that Errol Spence is not saying Terence Crawford's name. He won't call out Terence Crawford. He's avoiding Terence Crawford. Errol Spence, he let it be known that it was strap season. He was collecting all the belts, okay? It was easier than having to have his network, PBC, Premier Boxing Champions, founder and advisor Al Heyman, Showtime president of sports Steven Espinosa, and Showtime or Fox pay-per-view to have to deal with at the time when Terence Crawford was with legendary promoter, top-ranked CEO and promoter Bob Arum, ESPN and Top Rank. So he would have to bring the two networks together. When he had big fights, what he stated he was already in pursuit of before Terence Crawford came to the welterweight division, he was already looking to collect all the belts on the PBC side because that's where all the belts reside, okay? We had the WBC and the WBA belts was with Keith Thurman, okay? Errol Spence, he defeated Kell Brook in May of 2017. He wanted to pursue Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman was giving him the runaround. Terence Crawford, he didn't come to the welterweight division until 2018 when he defeated Jeff Horn in his first opportunity at a title and his first appearance in the welterweight division, okay? At that time, Errol Spence was already pursuing Keith Thurman, who was giving him the runaround, okay? And then Keith Thurman knew that Errol Spence was in hot pursuit of Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman was citing injuries, and then Keith Thurman ended up being stripped of his WBC title that he won when he beat Danny Garcia in a unification bout, okay? Then Keith Thurman had to vacate the belts, so Sean Porter, 2-time welterweight world champion superstar boxer, he fought Danny Garcia for the vacant WBC title, okay? At that time, Errol Spence was in pursuit of that belt. If you remember, when Danny Garcia and Sean Porter fought, Errol Spence got in the ring with Sean Porter after Sean Porter defeated Danny Garcia, and he told Sean Porter, let's make it happen, okay? Now, at the time, the WBC mandatory, the IBF mandatory was Cuban star boxer YORDENIS UGAS. So they ended up switching opponents. Why? Because at that time, keep in mind that YORDENIS UGAS was in position to fight for a title, right? 4-division world champion Mexican superstar Mikey Garcia was making his debut in the welterweight division. So Sean Porter ended up fighting YORDENIS UGAS. Errol Spence ended up fighting Mikey Garcia, giving YORDENIS UGAS an opportunity to fight for a world title. Terence Crawford at that time was looking to pursue a showdown with legendary 8-division world champion, iconic Filipino superstar boxer Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao, or he stated his #1 objective was to face off against Keith Thurman, former unified welterweight world champion. Now, keep in mind, Keith Thurman was Terence Crawford's #1 objective. He said to be the man, you have to beat the man. And the man at that time was Keith Thurman. He still hadn't lost in the ring. He just lost his WBC title due to inactivity. Okay. He still was the WBA champion. Okay. So now, that was his #1 objective, to fight Keith Thurman. Errol Spence, he fights Mikey Garcia. He beats Mikey Garcia. Sean Porter fights Yordenis Ugas. He beats Yordenis Ugas. What happens next? September of 2019. Now, keep in mind, okay, March of 2019, Sean Porter fought Yordenis Ugas. He beat Yordenis Ugas. September of 2019, Errol Spence fights Sean Porter in unification bout. He beats Sean Porter. 12 days later, he suffers the horrific car accident, which sees him out the ring for 14 months. Follow the time frame, okay? For when people are saying that Errol Spence was avoiding Terence Crawford. He wasn't avoiding Terence Crawford, and nor was Terence Crawford avoiding Errol Spence. And if you listen to Terence Crawford's manager and trainer, Brian Bomac McIntyre, he let you know that they could have fought Errol Spence as soon as they made their debut in the welterweight division. They had the opportunity to fight Errol Spence as soon as they made their debut in the welterweight division, but they chose to go the route of the WBO because it immediately gave them an opportunity to fight for the WBO title, and they were looking to carve out their own niche. Now, they could have fought Errol Spence for the IBF title, but they chose Jeff Horn. Go listen to Brian Bomac McIntyre. He explains that. We chose Jeff Horn route, okay? So for all the people that are saying Errol Spence was avoiding him, he wasn't avoiding him. Nor was Terence Crawford avoiding Errol Spence, because he viewed Keith Thurman as the man to beat, as many people did, including Errol Spence, because the biggest fight in the welterweight division at that time was Keith Thurman and Errol Spence Jr., okay? So Terence Crawford was in hot pursuit of Keith Thurman, as was Errol Spence. So Errol Spence said, okay, Keith Thurman's on the shelf. Let me go ahead and unify the belts. He goes ahead. He beats Sean Porter. He suffers the horrific car accident, which sees him out the ring for 14 months. He don't come back till 2020, okay? At that point in time, Keith Thurman is still inactive. Then Keith Thurman, he comes back in July of 2019, and he fights. He comes back in January of 2019. Then he comes back in July of 2019. He fights Manny Pacquiao. He loses the WBA to Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao is inactive for 2 years. He gets stripped of the WBA title. Errol Spence is supposed to fight Manny Pacquiao August 21st of 2021. He suffers a broken detached retina. He makes his debut December 5th against Danny Garcia, comeback fight. And then he defends his titles against Danny Garcia, supposed to unify against Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao gets stripped. The WBA is expected to reinstate Manny Pacquiao. They don't. They elevate Yordenis Ugas from the regular championship to the super champion. Errol Spence gets injured. Errol Spence gets injured. Yordenis Ugas fights Manny Pacquiao, beats Manny Pacquiao. Thus the reason why we're here today, Yordenis Ugas versus Errol Spence Jr., okay? In the meantime, Bob Arum is not looking to make big fights for Terence Crawford with the PBC side. So Errol Spence does what he set out to do. He's, like he stated, it had a few hiccups because of the injuries and the setbacks, but he ended up following what he said he was going to do, and he collected all the belts from all the champions. He beats Kell Brook in the UK in 2017, May of 2017, for Kell Brook's title, in his first title opportunity. Then in September of 2019, he beat Sean Porter in unification bout. Then this year, April 16th of 2022, he beats Yordenis Ugas for his belt. So he beat the man who beat the man who beat the man. Manny Pacquiao beat Keith Thurman. Yordenis Ugas beat Manny Pacquiao. Errol Spence beats Yordenis Ugas. So he beat the man who beat the man who beat the man and picked up that belt, okay? And now that everybody was saying Errol Spence is avoiding him, Errol Spence is in hot pursuit every single day of Terence Crawford. And he puts up another post of himself shopping at a grocery store. And on the list, this is what's on the list, right? He has a list, and the list has himself on it, him holding a list in a grocery store, okay? And on the list, he has Yordenis Ugas, Kell Brook, Sean Porter. And at the top of the list, he has Terence Crawford, and he has the belts in the shopping cart, right? So you can clearly see right there, right? So you see Kell Brook at number 1, checked off. Sean Porter at 2 for his WBC belt, checked off. Yordenis Ugas at 3 with the belt, checked off. And at 4 is not checked off, is Terence Crawford. You see he got all the belts in the shopping cart. He's in the grocery store shopping for the belts. right? And he's looking for Terence Crawford. And he says this, hashtag man down. Y'all already know what it is. Strap season, sign the contract, right? So he's ready to make it happen. So for everybody that was saying that Errol Spence was avoiding the fight with Terence Crawford, it's abundantly clear he's doing anything but avoiding Terence Crawford. And Terence Crawford, he's not backing down either. Okay, so Terence Crawford is taking to his social media as well, and he's reposting. He's more reposting what everybody's putting up, more so than him actually directly responding to Errol Spence. Right? He's putting up posts of him, and promos of Errol Spence. You see the promo of him and Errol Spence right there. He pushed that up, and that promo says, "Here comes the boogeyman," and he has the Halloween Michael Myers music. Okay, he puts up this. He gonna smoke Errol Spence Jr. Right? My money on Terence Crawford against Errol Spence Jr. Right? So he's not backing down either. This is what the fans wanted. This is what you was asking for, and now it's upon you. Okay. Now it's upon you, and I can't wait. So Errol Spence, once again, we know Errol Spence had already put out a post in which he put this. He put the Grim Reaper as a big fish. He calls himself the big fish, knocking on everybody's door. Right? Kell Brook door was first, opened it. Now the belt hanging. Sean Porter door second with the WBC belt open, hanging with the belt on it. Third was your UGAS belt with the door open and the belt hanging on it. And you see that this door has Terence Crawford on it. It's the Grim Reaper. And it says strap season, time to be great. Legendary for me and you, right? So he's aggressively pursuing Terence Crawford and telling him to sign the contract. So let's see how this unfolds. That's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon, and get all the new notification. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.